Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go. Our time, high time. Gotta go big time. This is it, yo. Never take no fight time. Grind time. Take it to the street time. Turn the roof off. Get loco. Game time, win time. We gon' bring it home time. No regrets now. Let it all go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's work.
Well, I think we're live.
Yes, we're live. Let's roll it in, shall we?
I know, right?
Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go. Our time, high time. Gotta go big time. This is it, yo. Never take no fight time. Grind time. Take it to the street time. Turn the roof off. Get loco. Game time, win time. We gon' bring it home time. No regrets now. Let it all go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder.
Well, good evening and welcome to Mountain Bears. It has been one of those evenings where we're pulling together news stories faster than the fucking newspapers can print them out. Because there's so much shit going on. And it's like, what do I want to talk about first? What do I want to talk about first? Let's talk about the nurse first. Y'all remember we covered this in Tennessee about a nurse being convicted of 2 counts of reckless endangerment?
Mm-hmm. By the way, hi, Techy Joe here.
Hi, yes, Techy Joe.
Forgotten.
Not forgotten.
God. No.
Forgotten.
So I guess you could call this the half win.
Yeah.
Is the ex nurse in Tennessee will serve no jail time,
right,
in death of patient after medication error. So the former Tennessee nurse convicted in the 2017 death of a patient due to an inadvertent medication swap was sentenced Friday to serve 3 years probation and will serve no jail time. Redonda Vaught, a former nurse at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, had been found guilty in March, if you guys remember, of 2 charges. This was a big deal. Criminally negligent homicide and abuse of an impaired adult after a medication error contributed to the death of 75-year-old Charlene Murphy in December 2017. The reason this was a big deal,
Right.
and the reason we've talked about this so much on the show is this is a one-off weirdo case with very big impact.
Yes.
This is not an angel of mercy nurse. This is not someone who, set out to kill a patient.
No.
This is someone who, for any number of reasons, not the biggest or not the least of which, being a very screwed up process within that hospital regarding their med carts, was able to access the wrong medication, didn't catch that she had accessed the wrong medication, gave that medication, and honestly realized what she'd done wrong.
Right.
And admitted to it. Like, she at no point in this process, and this is really hard words to say, she never intentionally did anything wrong. She never intentionally tried to hide what she did. She never intentionally did anything but try to help this patient.
Right.
That's everything she intentionally did, was try to help this patient as per her job.
Right.
And this is a very big deal in nursing.
Yes.
Because she had every opportunity she could have lied. And potentially at one point, if she had lied, she probably wouldn't have faced charges. Or the charges would have been far worse. Because they would have had to have proven that she was the one who administered it, and they would have had to have proven it, which would have made her look guiltier and probably would have no sympathy for her. But she did everything that a nurse in a situation where there is a medical screw up, she did everything you want that nurse to do.
Right. And she should have been fined, lost her nurse's license. They went farther. They did not. The hospital's walking out of this scot-free. Okay.
Yeah, they still get to walk around with this screwed up med cart situation.
Yeah.
That isn't just like, it was a brief window in which the med cart was a little screwy because of whatevs. Because every hospital, every business, has stuff that, it went down, and so we had to do this other thing, and this different process was a little wonky for everyone.
Yeah.
But it was temporary. This has been a long, ongoing problem for the hospital.
Right. And it's a very dangerous situation, especially where the hospital medications are, because they're just barcoded. And if someone slaps the wrong barcode, and this is what happened, the cart was programmed that the medicine that she gave was the right medicine. Nurses are no longer allowed to read a bottle, read a prescription. They push buttons, look at a screen, it says the medicine. It says the box that it's in.
Go to the bin, withdraw the vial, withdraw the medication from the vial, insert into patient.
It should.
I mean, give it another 5 minutes in tech world, and you're going to have a little robot rolling through the hallway.
They already do.
A med cart.
They already do.
Basically. But this one, they have had issues. They've had issues. Staff has been instructed to ignore the error messages that the cart produces.
And to override.
Whatever. Just override it. Just override it. Just override it. Just override it. It was another flippin' Tuesday.
Right.
And it popped up a bunch of information that she, had been told, just override it, no big deal. In this one situation, it was actually very important, the information that it popped up.
Right.
Because the medication that she was attempting to get from the med cart and the medication that she accessed were very different.
Right.
So, yeah. There was a lot of shock and outrage when she was found guilty. Mostly because this is going to potentially have some very chilling effects on nursing.
Yeah.
And what nurses may be willing to do in the future.
Right.
As in, we could end up in the midst of a nursing shortage.
Right.
With nurses sitting here going, that's not my job.
Right.
No. Or nurses continuing to do their job and going to jail.
Right.
That was the initial concern. Is you're either going to have nurses that are going to stop doing their job.
You'll leave the bedside.
And just be like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm not going to prison for these bitches.
Right. You don't
Which
pay
is fair. Which is fair.
Right.
After COVID, that's fair. That's fair.
Right.
You don't pay me enough to go to prison. Or you have nurses that go, I ain't fucking touching that med cart.
Well, here's my question. How many nurses are leaving the bedside?
I'd say it's probably in the teacher rate. Because a lot of educators are leaving education. Like, it was bad enough. Pre-Panini, it was bad enough for educators. It was bad enough for nurses.
Well, according to healthcarenews.com, 90% of nurses are considering leaving the profession within the year. 90%.
Yeah.
When asked why, working conditions, staff shortages, and them being, not allowed to be nurses.
Well, you corporatized healthcare.
Right.
Like, here's this thing. We started this shit in the 80s with privatization and acting, treating all these services like they're businesses. No. Like, you fucked up. Like, I'm waiting. I'm seriously waiting for the day, and I know it is a long ways down this road. We aren't even probably at midpoint. But I'm waiting for the day that a Republican outright says the words, we fucked up. We're going to fix it. On this privatization concept that you're going to treat all of these, public services like they're private businesses. That we want private business to run these things. Because what we have seen happen is there is a segment of things that are great. The private sector is beautiful at. They really are. Making iPhones, private sector is beautiful at that. Android phones, whatever phone you want to make. Private sector is gorgeous at that.
Right.
Healthcare, prisons, education, not so hot.
Right.
Not so hot. You end up trying to run this the cheapest way possible, which unfortunately doesn't look at the needs of anyone in the system, least of all the people you employ in the system, and most definitely not the people that are reliant upon that system. The kids in those classrooms, the prisoners in those prisons, and the patients in those beds.
Right. And I'm going to reiterate this to all nurses still on the floor. Do not accept an assignment if it is unsafe for you.
Yes.
Okay. And what I mean by unsafe is it's 79 beds and one nurse on that floor. The equipment is malfunctioning. The lifts are not working and you're in a lift-free facility. Hello, that's why I'm no longer on the floor.
Yeah. Basically, at the point in which you get asked to walk that line, between the thing you're supposed to be able to do and the thing you're not supposed to do, and you're supposed to walk a fine line on it. Of like, well, technically, well, technically means, well, you get me the shit that I technically need to do my job, or you have fun with it.
Right. You can refuse. It is within your licensing board. Every state in America has the ability for a nurse to refuse an assignment that she deems unsafe for patients or herself.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When I when I worked in a nursing home, we have lifts that help you lift clients. I start working there. Where's the lift? My new coworker, what lift?
Yeah.
Lifts
that stop at 250 pounds when your highest weighted patient is between 340 and 400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of this is a lack of understanding. And we see that, and it is this weird, like, thing that, like, but it's part of business.
Right.
Is this like, well, yeah, so we'll have to replace it every couple of years. And it's like, no, that's not the problem. The problem with a lift that goes to 250 being used on, like, say, a 400, 500 pound patient is not that you're going to, over time wear it out. It's that you are entering a situation where that machinery is going to catastrophically fail.
Or won't work at all.
Well, catastrophically fail. As in, it's going to tip over because it is not properly balanced for this much weight. Its buckles and braces and connections are not built for this much weight. The material in that sling is not built for this much weight. It will catastrophically fail.
Right.
It will not work. Immediate cease, halt, no longer functional.
Yep.
Not, you're just going to slowly wear it out faster.
Exactly. And,
Like
the computerized med cards, nurses, I'm going to tell you, if you can't tell what that medication is, refuse to give it. That med card ain't operational, refuse medicational transport. You have the right to refuse it. Use it, or you could end up like her, without a career, who she spent 6 years of education on, and thousands of dollars of student loans that she's still responsible for. All the fines, I think she got like $100,000 fine from the nursing board, and now 3 years probation. And who's going to hire her?
Well, she's not getting hired in medicine. And honestly, I would think there would be some support for her given the horrific nature of the situation. In terms of, she did everything you would want an employee in a situation to do.
Right.
She said, here's what happened. Here's what I think happened. Here's what I'm pretty sure occurred. She was on it as best she could once she knew there was a problem.
Right.
That's just, yeah. I would think if you are an intelligent employer looking at the legitimate facts of this case,
right,
you would have to acknowledge that she suffered greatly for being an honest employee.
Right.
And that's the truth of the matter. She messed up. Like, we're all aware she messed up. She is very much aware she messed up.
Exactly.
But in doing so, she avoided, and in some instances, what would have been an understandable attempt to take the easy out.
Exactly.
And blame other people, blame other things, blame, or I don't know what happened. She could have played dumb.
Right. But no, she was honest. She was honest to the fault. But here's the problem. She walks away without a career, with student loans of at least $130,000, without a job, now tarnished reputation because she has a criminal record. 5 years, no one's going to remember her name.
Well, see, that's what I'm hoping comes out of this, is she becomes a strong, like, poster child advocate for nursing reforms. That, we've got to do more for nurses than what we're currently doing, because this is bullshit.
Right.
This is bullshit. Yeah. You are putting nurses in harm's way. You are putting patients in harm's way. You are letting off medical facilities scot-free for creating environments that create the problems that lead to these situations.
Yes.
How many dead patients does it take before someone gets it?
Right. And another thing, this little initial, the envelope on the notice you received, nurses never do that. You make them give you a copy of that notice and you put it in a file. Somewhere in this house, there's a whole box of notices, dietary shortages, whatever, those little, they hand you a form and say, sign the envelope. I need a copy of that. Put it up in record, because that is the one thing that came to court that she still had.
Yep.
Was a printout.
Yeah.
Of do this because this is down.
Yeah. And was probably
seen that before.
And as much has gone on in this situation, as much has gone on in this case, as much attention as you can focus in other places, the devil's in the details. Like, you take down the mafia for tax evasion, not for the criminal acts.
Right.
But that's what the paper trail is. And what you notice in a lot of large privatized facilities, privatized businesses, are data retention policies that favor the business, not the employee. That may have been, because what was that? That notice came out like, what, 5, 6, 7 years before this case?
Yes.
I will guarantee you they don't keep those in their system, in their files for that long, even though that advisory was still in effect. They sent it out, printed it out, whatever. She got it, and before this case went to trial, I will guarantee you, nowhere in that discovery phase where they asked the hospital, hey, turn over all of this evidence related to these things, because even if she remembers it, no. Oh, no, I don't know of any such thing, but we delete all those after, we shred those after.
Right.
Even though it's still in effect.
Right.
So yes, that's probably one of the biggest takeaways, is don't assume that even though these policies and procedures are still in effect, that there's anything other than the official policy and the official procedure.
Right.
Even though this was an addendum that changed it. Despite that fact, they don't want evidence of that. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing.
Yes.
Moreover, they know in the course of their business, it is very important for them to have policies and procedures that favor and make them look good, that make the facility look good.
Right.
And that when they're sending out memos and advisories and notices and all these things, they know better than to keep those. Like, they will short track those for destruction.
Right. Well, not only that, but they'll print like one of them and have you just sign the envelope that it's on, that you read it. And then you'll get wrote up for it if you break the advisory, but you have no record of the advisory. Demand, record, or refuse to sign.
Which is a sad reality to have to be in. Like, I mean, like, for fuck's sake.
And what's even worse is, I was campaigning with the union SIU 1199 for this bill. It has been sitting in the United States Senate and Congress since I left the nurse's floor. Minimum staffing levels. One of the main reasons she said that she did not catch it earlier was she had so many patients that day.
Yeah. And again, this is our problem with privatized healthcare. Is that when you try to make healthcare a for-profit business, you're not making widgets. You are not running a diner.
Right.
You don't get to have variable staffing levels and like send people home because labor's high. It's not a fucking Burger King, okay?
Right.
It's a fucking medical care facility.
Right.
It is intended to be a situation of feast or famine.
Right.
You don't know day to day. So you have to staff pretty much assuming that a bus of children is going to be hit by another bus filled with children.
Right.
And be ready for that.
Right.
If you're not doing that, if you're staffing like it's just going to be another flippin' Tuesday.
Right.
And, you know, you're going to have like 4 people sitting in the waiting room. You know, because it's slow. So you don't want a ton of staff just hanging out. No.
There's a call system involved. You can have a reverse call system. This was a med floor. They had census that morning. They could have easily saw, we have 27 patients today. We have 5 appointments, so that puts us at 32. That means we need 6 nurses on this floor.
Yeah. Minimum. Instead, what you do is you throw, and what a lot of facilities have done is you have gotten your nursing staff used to being overwhelmed. And on the patient side, you've gotten patients used to just waiting. Just wait. Just, you know, we don't care what's wrong with you. I'm sorry you're having a heart attack. We'll get to you as soon as we can.
Yeah.
No.
No. That's also why, you know, every time, and I'm going to re-emphasize it now the panini is over. If your family member is in the hospital, your ass is in the Jerry chair.
Like, I seriously do not, and I get the idealized version of, like, you have a census, you know how many people, you work your staffing level. I honestly do not have a problem with you staff like there's been 2 buses of school children hit each other. And I don't care if all of them get really fucking good at playing poker. Because they're bored off their ass.
Right. But that'll never happen in a hospital.
But I'm saying that is the level that we need hospitals staffed at.
Yeah.
That is what we used to have many years ago. Before we had to distinguish between a for-profit and a not-for-profit hospital.
Right. Well, not only hospital, but nursing centers in general. Geriatric is the worst. You know, I will say there was weeks I had 120 patients under my supervision with 2 other aides. So that's 3 people to care for 120 people for 8 hours.
Yeah. Which is, even if it's the middle of the night, ridiculous.
Don't matter.
It can't. It's not. One, you're not giving quality care. You can't be.
No.
Like, I'm not saying no one, that the 3 of you didn't try. I'm just saying you can't.
Well, you start one into the building and you do a med pass with a med check and a roll and a vital check all at the same time. And you just keep going. And then when 7 o'clock rolls around, you give report. And then you sit down and do charting. And you chart for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
All the little notes you jotted down.
And you hope you don't miss anything. You hope that the little old lady in room 22, that you didn't forget that she said, yeah, I've got some real bad like gas tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Because when that call light goes off
Uh-huh.
at 4 a.m., that's the moment you want to be real sure that you're remembering that, that patient in 22 said she was having some real bad gas. Maybe it's not just she wants a glass of water.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she's having chest pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not like as in when you're that overloaded, your first thought, and I'm sure at a lot of times is, oh God, what does that bitch want now?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're overworked, you don't have nice, calm thoughts of, oh my goodness, what's going on? I hope everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go check.
Mm-hmm.
You're having the moment of, I have 50,000 goddamn things to get done before the end of this fucking shift. What does that bitch want now?
Now, I will honestly say, I love my patients.
Oh, I'm sure you did, but I know you had to have that problematic woman in room what the fuck's ever.
Uh-huh.
That every night she's going to hit that damn call light.
Uh-huh. We did.
She's going to ask for a glass of water. She's going to ask for juice. She wants cookies. She wants to go outside. She wants to help me pee, whatever. And at some point, you're going to be sitting there going, what the fuck do you want now?
And that lasts for about one shift. After that,
Okay.
I hit that room. Hi, honey. I got your water here. We got your juice. Here's your cookies. Let's go ahead and go to the bathroom so I can get you all tucked in. We've got 3 people tonight. Let's get you organized so that you get everything you need. All right, honey. Let's rock this.
Well, but still, I'm saying.
I know, but I've got to give it. Because I work geriatrics, when our patients knew we were short, they weren't. They literally knew that we were hitting the doors every 2 hours. Most of them were like, "Will you just leave me alone tonight?"
Oh, my anxiety was so bad I tried to do stuff for myself and get yelled at. Meanwhile, additional comments of dealing with that. Now I grabbed my in-law, 400 pounds, sat on the bed. I caught him and lifted back on the bed, never hit the floor, thank the gods. Other father-in-law, 300 pounds, fell in the bathroom. I wiggled in and lifted him up, sat him on his feet like a rag doll. I herniated a disc on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
Hi.
I've had 2 neck surgeries. And that was from a like 90-some-year-old woman who was finally becoming the weight on her driver's license. Okay. Which that was 135 pounds. She wasn't quite there on the first one. She was probably about 10 over. And on the second time I had to like spend a lot of time picking her up, she was within 3 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
3 pounds of that number on her license.
I have a question.
Yes.
Who bought the bathroom scale, your grandmother or you?
Honey, that I'm pretty sure her bathroom scale was purchased before your mother was conceived.
Well, I'm talking about the one in the bathroom now that's 10 pounds off.
Oh, that one came from North Carolina. That one was mine.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, no, that one's always been wonky.
Yeah.
But no, the one my grandmother had.
I'm sure she had to zero itself by setting it where you wanted 0 to be at.
I just found it funny. She kept getting weighed at the doctor's office, and there was in her like as she aged, because she, as far back as I can remember, I'm not saying my grandmother was like huge, but like she had a frame of a large woman, and she was like she had some bulk to her. So the first time I saw her driver's license and it claimed that she was 135 pounds, I giggled because I'm like, you have not been 130 anything since you were in school. And I don't mean like right before you graduated. I mean like somewhere maybe around 5th grade. I will believe you were 135 pounds.
Uh-huh.
After that, no, you were not 135 pounds. Like, oh, hell no. That was, I found it hilarious. She also claimed she was 5'6". And I was like, in hooker heels with hair teased to Jesus, maybe? Like, you were not no 5'6". Like, as we were, like, towards that last year, we had in-home health, and one of the things they did was do a full height and weight. And at that point, and this is after a massive reduction in her size, but at 96 years old, roughly, she was 4'11" and 140 pounds. And this was after she had severely, notably gone down multiple sizes. Like, no, she was not 130 pounds in those earlier years. That was her goal weight. Like, but I don't know how she got away with that 5'6" on her license. She had never, like, she had to have been wearing 4-inch heels and had her hair teased the hell up to get a driver's license that said she was 5'6".
Right.
Like, she was not 5'6". Like, if you if she had gone missing and you had looked for her using the statistics on her license, she would have never been found.
Right.
Like, the posters would have sounded great, but you would have never found her.
Right.
She would have been Jane Doe number 476392 for years.
Yes.
Like, but no. Oh, so my grandma would be like, I'm 5'6", and I was just, I'm 5'4" and taller than you. Better get your glasses and look at that measuring tape again. I like that. I like that. I understand it.
Well, and people shrink.
Well, yeah, and I get that. I'm just going, yeah, you usually shrink by about 2 inches in height between like your peak height and as you age, you will shrink about 2 inches. Right. And I'm going, so at 4'11", even if you give her an extra inch there, she was 5'3". 5'3". Was all this woman ever was. Like, you adjust that 2 inches. And hell, give her another one. Just give her another one.
Well, then you got to take into
it was close. It was a half. Maybe it was a half. Give her another inch. At most, the woman was 5'3". Now, you put on some heels and some hair.
Right.
You have a hope of getting, and a hat. You have some hope of getting her to 5'6".
Right.
But like I said, 5'2". That's what I thought she was. Like, her driver's license was hilarious to me.
Right.
Like, at 135 would have been the goal weight of someone who was 5'6". Like, she wasn't even doing the right goal weight.
Right.
Like, goddamn.
Well, goal weights have changed over the years. I'm still a little shocked by what my doctor said.
I'm appreciative of the way he actually put it, though. Is like, do you want to hear what the textbook says, or do you want to hear what I would actually like to see?
Yeah.
Because it was hysterical. He the textbook says you should have weighed like 10 pounds more than my grandmother's goal weight.
Yeah, I was
you should be 145
pounds. No, 140.
Oh, 140. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was on the low end. Like, it was 140 to like 150. So I'm striking the middle. Is like 145 would be perfect. Dead on.
Yeah, 140 to 180 is what he said.
Oh, no, what he said is I'd like to see you somewhere around like 200. Like, that would be reasonable and healthy.
Right.
And it's like, thank you. That's a real number.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, but like, I've seen myself at 180. That was an ugly time for me. Like, I was cute, don't get me wrong,
right,
from like here up. But that 3/4 collarbone thing I had going on, that was a little scary.
I've seen myself at 187 pounds, and I look kind of nice. I might if I get back to there, I'll be happy.
I mean, whatever makes you happy, I'm cool with. But I'm just going, for me, like, no, we are not doing 180. No, 180 is never happening again. Like, no, I was cute from here up. Like, that 3/4 collarbone thing, though, just was scary. Like, I looked like a skeleton.
I don't have 3/4. I've got a half right now.
Well, no, I mean, like, as in my flesh sank. Like, well, here, let me see if I can get pictures up.
Make sure they're proper.
They are.
Okay. So, apparently Turkey isn't happy that Switzerland and Finland want to join NATO. Of course, we have Russia threatening both of them. And Finland and Switzerland are going, yeah, it won't hurt. Joining NATO gives us power.
Alrighty then.
What's your thoughts on that?
Sorry, I was multitasking.
I know.
No, I'm saying I was trying to multitask.
Right. What's your thoughts about Turkey now backing Russia and not wanting Finland and Switzerland to join it?
Oh, I'm not really understanding why Turkey wants to get behind Russia. Well, like, I don't understand why anyone wants to get behind Russia right now.
Well, right now, I think that it's a fear, however, that there'll be more votes against Turkey aid. Because Switzerland and Finland are both very much, you take care of your own. And I think that can be very majorly a thing. Also, in other news, the UEA long-aligned leader, Sean Kofrin Ben Zayed, died at 73. The EU, the United Arab Europe, enters a month of electing a new president and taking 3 months in mourning. So the Crown Dubai Prince Mohammed bin Zayed rose to become a de facto ruler and decision maker in the majority of foreign policy decisions, such as during the Shiite war in Yemen and spearheading the embargo on neighboring Qatar in recent years. The Crown Prince is also the deputy super commander of the armed forces. Bidding ties with Israel after two normalized relations in 2020. So it will be interesting what happens. And I don't know, this is kind of one of those, this is one of our first world leaders that is going to greatly influence new things going to be put into power, like the next generation there. So gas prices, oil prices, who he's backing in war, because Dubai is one of the largest and most financially secure countries, so he's got a lot of power behind him in the Middle East.
Yes. Which, again, I'm just wondering what this is going to all end up doing to oil prices for the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's. I mean, I think that's my biggest concern. Don't know where everyone else is at. Pardon?
Show your picture.
I've been trying to work with you on talking about the article, so I haven't been able to search. Like, I'm searching slowly.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to keep up. I was kind of asking for you to cover for me while I went and did that. Okay, but that meant I wasn't going to be able to follow the article as much. So anyway, I'm still scrolling through. Like, Facebook is now at the point of glitching. That's how old this picture is.
Okay.
Oh dear God, I have finally scrolled to the end and I don't have it. Okay, so that one got lost to time. We'll find it another day.
Yes, we'll give it to baristas.
Yeah, it's an old high school picture. Like, it was cute. I looked cute. I did.
Mm-hmm.
From here up,
right?
Like, from like here to here was like, feed me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to die.
Uh-huh.
Like 3/4 collarbone is not a good look for anyone.
No.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think it screams something's wrong.
Yeah. I think it does. So California is hitting a surplus budget. California surplus is to expect to hit an unprecedented $97 billion under Nordstrom's budget plan.
Yeah, so Gavin Newsom on Friday pledged to use the state's record-breaking $300 billion budget, including an unprecedented nearly $100 billion surplus, to future-proof, quote-unquote, the state from the impacts of a volatile midterm election cycle that he fears will undermine abortion access, gun safety, and privacy protections across the country. The first-term governor of the nation's most populous state and a potential Democratic presidential candidate used his budget presentation on Friday to prop up his progressive credentials while attacking his rivals in conservative states. Mm-hmm. He trumpeted major increases in spending on healthcare, education, childcare, and the environment, while also pledging to spend $125 million to make it easier for women to get abortions in California, including those from other states. With the United States Supreme Court poised to possibly overturn Roe v. Wade next month, Newsom pointed to a sign displaying California's lower COVID-19 death rate compared to the Republican-led states of Florida, Texas, and Arizona, all of which are expected to further restrict or outlaw abortions if the court overturns Roe. Newsom instituted the nation's first statewide coronavirus stay-at-home order, and many credit his aggressive actions throughout the pandemic with saving lives. Critics say he overreached and worsened the economic harm. If you're pro-life, how the hell is this possible? Newsom was quoted as said of the higher death rates in the 3 states that used a more hands-off approach during the pandemic. Quote, spare me their mantra on being pro-life. They don't deserve that status.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, so Newsom did a lot for California and has done a lot for California. I don't think he has been making bad choices here so far. And I'm certainly glad that he is doing a lot to help women access abortion from other states.
Yeah.
Like, I find that a really important consideration that he has for California's budget.
Well, in California's needing population, a lot of big businesses have moved out of California because of the regulations, but at the same time, he's a governor I damn respect.
Yeah.
Right now, he's the reason I wouldn't mind picking up and moving to California and was considering a job in San Francisco.
Yeah, there you go. But no, like, I understand what he's doing. I think he is probably wading into controversial waters. I'm hopeful that what he can do, because I feel like, unfortunately, he just flipped the damn sand clock. No, I think he flipped the sand clock, the little egg timer, on his time as governor. But I'm not uncertain that, like, given his COVID stance and how many people reacted negatively to it, that wasn't already in a tipping point. Like, that egg timer was going to flip. I'm just really, really hopeful he can do a lot with setting up a long-term program,
right,
or series of actions that are hard for a next administration to undo. That as that next governor comes in a couple of years, that it's going to be very hard between, one, this midterm election and the next governor's terms, to really undo what he institutes.
Right.
Like, because I follow him on a lot of concepts that he has going here. Arguably, some of the things he has done with business have been negative.
Right.
I don't know that they're necessarily as negative as it has been made out to be. We do have to remember that, business, they're that annoying kid on the playground that cries every 5 fucking seconds.
Right. And see, here's the thing, though, is California could become its own country. It supports its own country.
Yeah, economically, they are, like, the U.S. is more reliant on money from California than California has ever been on money from the U.S. government.
Exactly. Most of the times they have to give back any federal money because they have a surplus. Furthermore, their exports alone to the U.S.
Well, not to mention, as a country, as much of a coastal border as they have, just being a world port alone, they could tariff, goods going in and out.
I sent you two of the young pictures I have. One of them, I believe, is the one you're looking for.
Oh, okay. Let me go see. I think I closed my Facebook window. That was an oops. I didn't mean to do that.
So, in other news, the Nazi regime in Texas can resume child abuse investigations for transgendered care, Supreme Court says. State officials are free to resume child abuse investigations against parents who provide adolescents with gender-affirming medical care under a ruling released Friday by the Texas Supreme Court. This isn't the big court. This is a little state court. The rule struck down the statewide injunction issued by Austin's judge in March that halted child abuse investigations based on providing medical treatment for gender dysphoric in minors. The rule allowed only portions of the injunction to remain in force. Part of the block of abuse investigations into the families that sued to halt the policy said it violated their fundamental rights to care for their children. The lower courts did not have the authority to halt investigations into family who were not part of the lawsuit, the court said. Friday's ruling was limited to enforcing the injunction. The merits of the case, whether the state order child abuse investigations into transgender care violated the rights of the family, remains before the judge based in the Third Court of Appeals. The legal brief is due April 25th, but the Texas Supreme Court clarified that Governor Abbott who in February directed state child welfare agents to investigate reported gender transitioning process as child abuse, did not have the power to request the agency to do such investigations. The Department of Health and Protective Services quickly announced in February that it would follow Abbott's direction, the action that the agency was not legally required to take, Friday's ruling said. While Abbott had the right to state his policy views on the subject, DFTPS was not compelled by law to follow it, the court said.
Mm-hmm.
Lawyers who specialize in LGBT rights hopes that the clarification means the state agency will decline to resume or launch abuse investigations while the policy legalization is under court review. We hope that with clear determinations from the Texas Supreme Court that this directive is not legally binding, that everything will go back to business as normal before this new directive from Governor Abbott came out, said Carrie Cook, senior counsel for Lambda Legal.
Because we got to get that one. We love Lambda.
Yeah. Are they going to do that? We don't know. We hope so, he said. Asking about the Children's Welfare Agency plan, a spokeswoman said the ruling was being reviewed. We have no immediate commitment beyond that, the spokeswoman Maris Garza said. Non-investigations have begun. So yeah, that's 9 families now being targeted for taking care of their children.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on there. So let's unpack that real quick. So basically what happened is the governor stated his policy, what his views were. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough to compel the agency to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But they chose to treat his statement of, his thoughts on policy as legally binding.
Mm-hmm.
And so the court has said, yeah, you didn't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why did you do that?
You are independent.
Yeah, like, why are you going rank and file over here?
Yeah.
Like, on zwei bills on Empire. Why? Like, that's not what you do.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how this is supposed to work. This isn't, like, you're not required every time the governor says jump to say how high.
Right.
Part one of the problem. Part two is in deciding to rapidly change their approach.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like they have walked into okay, so you did this thing that wasn't legally binding.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't really bear itself out.
Right.
In terms of this isn't like the best recognized thing that you ought to be doing.
Right.
This is not what your own internal policy was.
Right.
This isn't how you were, like, but not for the governor, going, oh, I think this is what you ought to do. You were not going to do that.
Right.
And hadn't been, you weren't like, and there's no real compelling, like he has an opinion.
Right.
Much like every other human being has an asshole. And in this situation, his opinion and his asshole are both shitty.
Mm-hmm.
And what the hell were you thinking?
Right.
So now Lambda Legal is effectively going, we hope they will take a moment to realize that, like, the governor can think what the governor wants to think. The governor can say what the governor wants to say.
Mm-hmm.
But until you throw legally binding new laws
Mm-hmm.
into action that it change our policies,
right?
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Right.
That's that, and like that's the most logical thing is for, and I think that's probably where the judge is hoping
Right.
this goes to, is that like, here's your come to Jesus.
Right.
Take the out.
Right.
Now with that said, and also I want to say, hey Sarah, um that's what you'd hope would happen.
Right.
Now what I'm afraid we're gonna see happen out of Abbott is if because, and I gotta go back and check, because they Department of Family and Protective Services, if they turn around and do their little about face on this policy change and go back to the way things were, I'm pretty sure you're going to see a retaliation. You're going to start seeing a slashed budget. You're going to see like people ordered to step down. Like, I think you're going to get a repeat of like that moment in West Virginia when Dr. Kathy Slump, started arguing with our governor, and all of a sudden she got relieved of her duties.
Right.
And told that no, that was too honest.
Right.
Stop being honest.
Right.
I need to go out here with numbers that sound like it's getting better.
Right.
And that's the unfortunate reality, is the director of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services may be under that kind of pressure. Is that no, legally he's not required to jump every time the governor says jump.
Right. Now I'm going to be very bluntly honest. On November the 8th, if you are a Texas citizen with the right to vote, that is a Tuesday, you have a job to do. It's election season. You have the opportunity to get rid of this person. He is up for re-election. You have an opportunity to protect your city, your state, and the families in there. I suggest you do it, because he's already made you look like the laughingstock of the world. He's already, shown you, he doesn't respect women. He doesn't respect families' choices to do what they want with their children. And he doesn't want to build infrastructure, because remember, he's the reason you guys lost 38 people in a freezing snowstorm.
Yeah, well, and a lot of the state's policies to boot.
Yeah.
As in, like, there were other things. Like, he fucked up bad enough, but the state of Texas as it exists right now at this moment, your electrical grid is some bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's got to be nice when you are in a like energy demand slump normally, and you can rock some like cheap ass power rates,
right?
And be like, yeah, you paid your whole house electric bill for like $10 or something. I'm sure there's got to be people doing that with that variable rate system,
right?
I think you also have to stop and recognize that there is no way in hell it is sustainable to have a system that is that variable.
Right.
That when you are in a severe freeze, an unprecedented freeze, and that electrical system starts to fail, and what little power there is now being offered at like 1,000 times its normal rate, that $1,000 electrical bills are anyone's friend and anything but a way to create mass casualties in the middle of a freezing event.
Exactly. That the power grid failed. Remember that February? You know where Abbott was? He was sitting in his governor's mansion with power and heat while you tried to figure out how to heat your home, keep your children warm. Just like your representative was flying off to Cancun. Shall we remind you of that? Let us remind you of that.
Yes. So, but no, I mean, I don't know. Could you get a better election turnout though? Like a better voters turnout in Texas though, if their polling place was a gun range
Oh, I'm
and
sure
like
some
you
of them are.
sent the ballot downrange and just shot at it? Like would that work?
I don't know. I would love to see a runoff, and
I think it would be the most Texas election possible is put a ballot at the end of a shooting range and like watch your grouping. I think it would be the most Texas election.
We just went through a primary. For those in West Virginia, when do we get rid of our useless fuck?
November 8th. And probably not get rid of him. Like, I'm going to call it. I will tell you right now, we are keeping fucking Justice for 4 more years.
I don't think he can run.
I will guarantee it. He will find a way. Oh, right, because he's midterm. Yeah, he's midterm. These are midterm elections. Never mind. We replace our governor when we look at replacing a president.
Yep.
No president on the ballot, no governor on the ballot.
2 more years. 2 more years, y'all. 2 more years. He's going to continue to suck here.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, Texas, you got a choice.
And I'm going to be very careful with what I say next. But, I mean, can we just say that, like, Baby Dog is fucking healthier than our governor?
Can we just say that Baby Dog's a better governor?
Hell, the ass of Baby Dog is a better governor.
True. Well, then that's debatable which one you're talking about, the anus of the poor dog or its owner.
Gotta say, though, that's probably the most popular dog's ass ever.
Well.
Like, the most photographed and talked about ass end of a dog ever.
Right.
Ever.
Well, again, here's my point of view about it. I hope we get some good governor candidates. I want some new damn blood.
But we're not going to get it. You know this. I hope for it too. I seriously want to see a West Virginia that gets its shit together and actually becomes a state that has a positive growth rate.
Yeah.
I want to see a West Virginia that is actually able to have business, not one that just keeps cutting taxes so that we get every fucking deadbeat dad run business in the country to move to it to avoid paying taxes for the 5 hot minutes that they get to before escaping.
Right.
Like, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of coal. I'm sorry. I understand coal had a very important part in West Virginia's history. I'll repeat that for those of you who might not have been listening. Coal had past tense, very important part in West Virginia's history.
Yeah,
it's not today. It's not what we need today. Today is not about minerals we can pull out of the ground sustaining this fucking state for another 100, 200, 300, 400 years. It ain't happening. Well, we don't even have that much.
Well, not only that, but what we do have and what they do mine, what I find interesting, cannot be burned in our power plants.
What?
The coal that is mined currently in West Virginia is not being burned in the power plants of the United States. There are only 2 countries that can buy it, India and China.
Well, there are 2 countries that do buy it because our rates are so damn low.
Right.
That it makes it profitable to buy it for medical or for metallurgical use. Even at that, yes, most definitely, Shannon, it's a finite resource.
Right.
And moreover, that's just one business. Yeah. That's one industry.
Yeah.
How the hell many people, do you realize that there's more to life than coal? There are more things than coal. You cannot run a profitable state off of 1 or even 2 major industries, you need a basket so that as these industries ebb and flow, you don't see busts and booms every like 5 minutes in your fucking state's economy.
Right.
Like what? Tell me how you expect to run a state when you have one career choice,
Right.
maybe two, and everything else is just reliant on a coal industry or on that one or two industries.
Right.
Like you're coming out of high school.
Right.
Okay, you have a choice between, do you go to college,
right,
and leave the state, or stay in the state, good luck. Do you go into the one or two industries? They'll hire you straight out of high school.
Right.
They're going to work you till you die,
Mm-hmm.
which probably won't be too long. Like you're not going to see 75 and healthy. Okay, like let's all be clear on that. You're not going into the coal industry
Mm-hmm.
and gonna see 75 in perfect
Right.
health.
Right.
Not happening.
Right.
All right. Or do you become one of like the neighborhood X, the grocer, the barber, the drive-through worker, the trash collection that supports the rest of these industries? Because side note, inflation and wages have not kept up in those fields to make that an actual viable employment solution for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like like at best you're going to go into the barber beautician line, you'll make some okay money. Not great money, but you'll make okay money.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else, you're going to live the rest of your life in poverty.
Right.
Point blank. If you leave high school
Mm-hmm.
and you start the circuit tour
Mm-hmm.
of fast food, because let me tell you now, you're not going to stay anywhere more than like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be lucky to make it to year 2 at any fast food place you go work.
Right.
Like it's a constant revolving door. If you didn't know that going into fast food, you know it now.
Right.
Don't plan to stay there forever. It's a very lucky few that advance their career in fast food to move up another level. By the way, you're probably going to have to go back to school while you're working to make that happen.
Right.
And that's it. Like that's your entire economy.
Mm-hmm.
You can sell some insurance. God knows it's coal. You can go open a fucking funeral home every 15 feet.
Right. You forgot churches, because you need churches to be praying for those souls to come home.
Well, but this is the straight out of high school. Now, again, like option 2 is, or like one of those options was you go to college, maybe in the state. You're still going to become reliant and codependent on that one or two major industries. Every time they have a fucking moment and decide to mass fire, you're going to be unable to pay your mortgage. That's what that turns into. Within X months of that mine closing, you're not going to be able to pay your mortgage. Your car's going to get repossessed. You are now going to have a dwindling credit score because you can't make rent, utilities, and payments on the shit you want and need in your life. Because you are codependent on the bust and boom times of that one industry.
Right.
Instead of a state that is built around multiple industries, and you're going to see some ebb and flow. It's going to be, and if as long as they are disconnected industries,
right,
that ebb and flow is going to be minimal.
Right.
Like, you might do better this month than like 6 months from now.
Right.
But not at the rate in which every time that one or two industries fucks up, or whatever you want to call it, they have a moment you lose everything you've worked for and drop the bottom because now you have no customers.
Right.
No one gets fucking haircut
Right.
when they're on unemployment.
Right.
Like, that's how that works. Like,
Right.
when you are, and I've seen this, and like construction goes through this every 9 months.
Right.
3 months a year, construction shuts down.
Right.
Let me tell you what happens during the 3 months that construction shuts down. Ain't nobody getting a haircut.
Right.
They're hoping to pull off a half-decent Christmas that doesn't make their babies cry.
Right.
That's it. That's all they care about. Half-decent fucking Christmas.
Right.
They're holding on to every dime they can to get through Christmas.
Right.
And try to keep the lights on. Try not to have a vehicle repossessed. Try not to lose everything in that 3-month period.
Right.
That's after they fuck it up a couple of times.
Right.
Every construction worker does it.
Right.
Every fucking construction worker does it. That first 3-month shutdown, they fuck it up.
Right.
Like, and I watched this with my dad. He was a construction superintendent. He got paid year round. All of his guys got paid for the time they worked.
Mm-hmm.
They made more hourly than he did, but they didn't get paid for 3 months a year. He got paid year round. So every winter, the jobs would shut down. And then about a month later, our phone would ring off the hook.
Right.
With, like, every time he had a large number of new guys, our phone would ring off the hook. Every new guy always called. For those first 2 years they worked for my dad. And Dad had already warned them, is save. Because in a few months, you're not going to make any money. I will have no work for you. There's nothing I've got. We can't dig, we can't pour, we can't build. There's nothing we can do for those 3 months. Every single job site dwindles to next to nothing. Low activity. Like, change the battery change the battery in the flashing warning lights of work zone ahead. That's it. That's the only job there is. And that usually goes to like one fucking person to go out every day and do.
Right.
And that doesn't pay well.
No.
Side note, you don't get the 26, 36, whatever dollars an hour to go change the battery in the fucking flashy light signs. No. They put you under a total different employee classification for that shit.
Yeah. But no, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous in this state. It's ridiculous, the ebb and flow. It's ridiculous that we don't have a living wage. We don't have a status of in life. But we're going to move on. We're going to move on to relationship advice. And this is one I held.
Yeah. You weren't even sure if you were going to do this.
I wasn't sure, but fuck it. The week I've had, I'm ready for this one. All right. This post has been locked, so no, we can't make our comment like we normally do.
As in we can't go ahead and like comment on the thing.
You're right. I normally comment if I bring it up, I comment here in the forum also. My dying wife asked me if I'd be okay with her if she had sex with her ex one last time.
Shall I take it away?
Yes.
I can't have this tied to my main, but I really need to say something about it and have no one I can tell. My wife has a terminal disease. She is projected to live at most 9 months. I am, of course, destroyed. We've been together for a decade. I don't remember life without her, and I don't know what I'm going to do when she's gone. I've been doing my best to make the last days of her life good and grant whatever wish I can. The doctor said that she was likely to need a wheelchair in 4 or 5 months. Then, by month 8, she'll be bedridden for the last few weeks. That's if she doesn't decline faster. Recently, she sat me down and told me that one of the last things she wanted to do was have sex with a previous partner of hers. I, of course, was shocked, and when I asked why the fuck she wants that, so basically, she thinks that her most physically compatible, satisfying lover was him. She gave a whole monologue about how sex sometimes is just physical and how emotionally fulfilling sex is with me, but it was bullshit to get to that point. So now I'm left with this: deny my dying wife a wish for my own ego, or let her go fuck another man who she feels was better. Honestly, I'm so pissed off and betrayed that she asked this of me. I feel like I'm put in a position where I have to say yes because she's dying. I know what I want to say, but I don't know if that's right. I'm so hurt that sex with an ex was apparently so good that she needs to do it once more before she dies. I just hate everything about this. I'm really not sure what to do.
And it's took me a week to think on this one because I have very different ideas on some things. I'm going to let you go first.
You know, we started talking about this a week ago, and oh, that's a lot to unpack in that situation. Like finding out that not only is your spouse of a decade is dying, like you've already gotten the decline in prognosis and all this, you really are trying to be a decent human.
Mm-hmm.
Like you really are. And that's hard.
Right.
And then, and like part of me wants to know, is some of this mentally affecting?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's my big glaring question is there any part of this condition that is mentally effective? As in, is it disinhibiting? Is it, like brain cancer? Is it, something like I would want as a spouse in this situation, like give me a life raft, okay?
Right.
Give me like the life preserver to cling to go, this is not really encompassing of who she is and what our relationship was about. And I think I'd be like, okay, honey, you want to go do that, do that.
Right.
In that situation. Now, I'm assuming a lot. I'm assuming that this has been a decade of monogamy. I'm assuming that at no point was this an open relationship. I am assuming that, like, given all this and despite her current desires, she did not cheat at any point in that 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I would really need the life preserver there. If I were a part of this monogamous relationship, I'd really want a life preserver to like cling to.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, this is more about the disease bringing forward like things that like she would ordinarily have like been like, no. Cute fantasy, cute idea, not gonna do it. Value my relationship too much for that.
Right.
At which point it would be like, okay, I'm going to indulge this part of the disease because the disease is taking control. And this is what it's telling you need.
Right.
And just like, as fucked up as that sounds, let it be. I could wrap as any human I think could around that and be like, okay, that is what it is.
Right. Well, for me, and my point of view on it is, there's a party here that hasn't been considered.
Oh, yeah. 1 decade later. The previous partner.
Yes. Someone broke up with someone, and there's got to be a reason why they broke up. Normally, if the sex is good, the partner will put up with a lot of shit. Fair. Secondly, I'd say go for it. Be back by 9.
I mean, there's been a lot of commentary on this one as to whether it was even real.
Right.
And argumentatively,
Right.
I could see this being like, would you rather
Right.
game kind of question.
Right.
Yeah, on the off chance it isn't.
Right.
I think, honestly, it's a moment of let the dying do whatever the dying wish to do.
Mm-hmm.
And to whatever extent and ability they have, as long as it's legal.
Right.
Like, just because you're dying, you don't get to become Saw.
Right.
Like, because that was the whole premise of the movie.
Right.
Like, a whole franchise about a guy dying of cancer.
Right.
Side note. Spoiler alert. Too late. But no, like, as long as it's legal, as long as it's moderately sane, like, and at this point, when someone's terminal, moderately sane takes on a whole new definition. Right. Like, if you want to go out and try meth at this point in your life, what's it going to do? Kill you?
Right.
If you want to go out and, like, jump off a bridge, do some skydiving,
right.
What's it going to do? Kill you?
Right.
Like, moderately sane.
Right.
Like, don't make other people suffer.
Right.
Like, don't decide to go pull your car in front of a train because that makes other people suffer.
Right.
But I think you just have to go, if that's what she thinks she needs to be at peace.
Right.
I think you need a really good therapist and to let her go do whatever she needs to do to be at peace.
Right.
And let that therapist walk you through the rest.
Exactly. But the other page of this is I'm reminded of what a doctor told me about my father. He is 2 months at most.
Yeah.
I had him for 13 more years.
There is that. I don't think most diagnoses are that far off. I mean, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they sent my grandmother home, they said 2 weeks and just about to the day.
Mm-hmm.
When they sent dad home, they said about a month, and it wasn't even close to that. It was actually much, much faster.
Right.
Right. Like, there's some variability there, but for most people, okay, she has 9 months to live at most. If that doctor's off a little bit, we're probably talking like 7 to 11 months.
Right.
More than likely.
Right.
Not that some diseases don't just have sudden random halts in remission.
Right.
But generally speaking.
All right, so my advice to this person is go do it. Let them go do it. They're dying. It's one time. She already been there. She's been with you for a decade. If she can pull it off, let her pull it off, but tell her to be home by 9.
Well, and again, I find a good therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand the harm that would cause someone.
Mm-hmm.
And the resentment and the anger and,
right.
Find a good therapist to help you work through that, because you have to go on living afterwards and becoming an angry, bitter, like, hurt individual.
Right.
Well,
and see, here's the other part of this, and we're not there, and there always is that conversation about you need to get when I'm gone, you need to have another partner. Mm-hmm. When I'm gone, you need to. There's always that conversation.
Well, and I also wonder sometimes, like, I think it's got to be the unspoken part of, like, mm-hmm. life after a dead spouse.
Right.
Like, you get that moment when, like, you just break up with someone, when you just divorce someone. It is perfectly okay to sit there and say, the new spouse is better than you, sexier than you, better in bed than you, blah, 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 blah. Right. That's damn near expected.
Right.
But when you lose a spouse, to, like, they die in a car accident, when they die of a disease.
Right.
There's a lot of, like, reverence given to that former spouse, to the deceased late spouse, that doesn't really get to go there.
Right.
And I'm just wondering how much that becomes part of, like, an unspoken idea.
Right.
Where you have to pay deference to the deceased spouse.
Right.
While trying to also not diminish the new spouse.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people set that deceased spouse up on a pedestal.
Right.
Like, they are, they were perfect, they were amazing, they were wonderful, they were the best cook, the best mom, the best doggy mom, the best whatever. Which death does.
Yeah.
This is a normal part of grieving and acceptance, etc. Is you end up pedestaling the deceased. You know, like you airbrush their flaws a lot.
Some people do.
Most people do. Most people do, actually. Most people do. Not everyone. Not everyone. Some people are just bastards and there's no airbrushing. Like, good fucking luck.
Okay. So, moving on to, are you an asshole? I sent you one in private chat if you didn't have one.
Yeah. Well, I did not have one ready. And I was actually realizing that. But am I the asshole for arguing with my husband's doctor and acting like a Karen because they wouldn't listen? Husband has a sore foot, no injury or medical condition that would explain the pain, but he hasn't been able to walk properly for about a week. Being the absolute pain in the ass that he is, he's refused to go to the doctors until today. Apparently, he preferred to just pop Tylenol and complain to me. It's gotten progressively more swollen and misshapen looking, and today it's gone a funny color, and he can't put any weight on it. So I called our GP, who has sent him to the walk-in clinic at our local hospital. We finally get seen, and the doctor refused to even examine it. Told him without even looking at the foot that it was a sprain, and he wasn't going to prescribe him any painkillers, so not to ask. Then he started demonstrating some kind of exercises that involved going up and down on tiptoes and flexing the toes. I asked if he would please just look at it, as it has gone nearly black in some spots and looks similar to how my wrist looked when I broke it a few years ago. He huffed at me and asked where my medical degree was from. It put my back up, and I demanded to see another doctor or his senior. I was the asshole here because it wasn't me being treated, so I get he thought I was a pushy cow. And husband wouldn't say boo to a goose in medical situations and would have accepted the doctor's instructions without any questions about actually needing to be examined. Doctor left, and we heard him outside the cubicle telling the senior doctor that they have a confrontational spouse who thinks her WebMD searching qualifies her to instruct real doctors how to practice medicine. He also states that he suspects my husband of exaggeration to get opiates. By the time the other doctor arrives, I'm seething and lay out exactly what went on and explained I only want someone to look at the foot before sending us away. He looks. Cue x-rays, an MRI, the good painkillers, and a walking boot cast thing with potential to need surgery because he's got 7 stress fractures in the foot, probably from running. Admittedly worse than they needed to be because he didn't get any treatment when it first hurt. Second doctor and someone from the hospital admin come and apologize for the first doctor and ask if we want to make a formal complaint. So I did, because the outcome of his not listening to the patient or family could have been worse. Husband did not. Was it an asshole move to complain? I don't usually have Karen tendencies, but he was just so patronizing and dismissive, and I kept thinking, what if it was a young mother with a sick baby and he dismissed that? Not everything would stand their ground. Not everyone would stand their ground, and there could be really serious consequences. All right, we're going to stop there because the rest is basically an update.
Yeah, but I'm going to throw in a line that you missed. Husband said later the first doctor may get sacked because of me complaining, and I should have left it because no real harm was done.
Oh,
bullshit in a can of tomato sauce.
Ultimately, no harm was done, but that's not because of the first doctor.
Right.
And I've actually been there. Granted, it was 2 fractures. I went to the ER. Like, I had great care up until the point in which they referred me out to what was that? It was a
orthopedic surgeon.
Orthopedic surgeon. Thank you. That they sent me because there was a break, etc. Sent me there. And I got the same kind of like runaround but mine was a Haglund deformity. All my pain was because of pressure on my Achilles tendon. And I'm going, but there's an x-ray.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, well, I don't know why you would trust an ER doctor's interpretation of an x-ray. What do they know? And so then he starts talking about doing surgery for this Haglund deformity. Basically, for those of you who don't know, because I didn't know, it's called a deformity. Most people have it. It's one of the most common things. If your heel does not do like this perfect L shape, where it comes like you could draw a straight line that intersects with another line between the bottom of your foot and like your leg, you have a Haglund deformity.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he wants to do surgery, and I said, fine, you can do surgery when you do an MRI. So he huffed and he puffed and drug it out as long as possible before they got the MRI order, and then said nothing. Like, I went for my MRI. I had no follow-up. Like, they didn't immediately schedule a follow-up. They didn't say anything. I finally get a call from some poor unfortunate appointment setter wanting to set up a follow-up appointment. And I said, so what about the results of my MRI? Oh, yeah. And she starts looking at the notes, and yeah, well, it looks like you broke 2 bones. And I go, really? Really? So the next visit that I go in for, I of course only get to see his PA. Didn't get to see the doctor. Got to talk to the PA about how at this point there's nothing they could do. That, like, it looked like on the MRI it was healing a little off, but it would be okay. And I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm.
So what you're telling me is you didn't listen to the x-ray. You didn't listen to the ER doctor notes or the radiologist notes. You didn't listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
You diagnosed me with the wrong problem.
Right.
And you were ready to do surgery and still were.
Right.
Like, this appointment, he was still talking about doing surgery to correct this.
Right.
And I'm like, wait. That's not my problem.
Right.
Not my problem. Like, no. There's a fair number of physicians out there that really effing need to get with the program.
Right.
Like, I don't get it.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but you've been in this husband's shoes. You've seen me lose my shit on doctors.
And I will say there's like a time and a place for it.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that. I will say there was a time and a place for it. Like there are certain moments I could see any spouse having the reaction of like, okay, just sit down and shut up. Like, you know what? Like this misdiagnosis is not going to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
Like we will just go see another doctor. We will go see like this person does not want to help me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like it'll be fine. We'll work around it.
Right.
Then there are situations where like I know as a patient, I've hit my wall.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not listening.
Right.
They're not gonna hear me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else to say in this situation to make someone listen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because side note, I'm a big guy. I get diagnosed as fat. Like every problem I've ever supposedly had in my life, including, you know, deer tick bite that gives me cytomegalovirus and Rocky Mountain spotted fever,
Mm-hmm.
is because I'm fat.
Right.
Like the headaches I got from that was because I was fat.
Mm-hmm.
If I just lost weight, I would feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been through this, like my neck pain the first go round,
Mm-hmm.
like diagnosis fat. I just needed to lose weight and my arm pain would stop. Oh, please tell me.
Mm-hmm.
How is the weight of my body causing this problem? I would love to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you can explain that to me. Just to have a doctor go in to do
Right.
one neck surgery to find out I needed a totally different neck
Right.
surgery, which he went ahead and did because he was right there. Because effectively I had a nerve bundle pressing into some bone growths that were like a serrated edge knife, which was really super painful, obviously.
Right.
And then after the surgery, got asked, "How did you function?"
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one of the couple of times that we got into it over your medical care, because I didn't insert myself. I had already inserted myself with a few partners, and they didn't really like that. So I was going to be the good boy and be nice.
Well, you don't have the ability.
I was. I did not go to your therapy appointments. I never saw your lead medical doctor until I fired him. I did not deal with that PA that puts you on blood pressure medicine because of a study.
Well, but again, these are moments that I was able to argue myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't need you to argue.
Right.
Because yes, I went ahead and took the medication. That was a misunderstanding and a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I worked that out very quickly with my doctor's office and thankfully the one good nurse that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am not defenseless in my healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
I will tolerate more BS, however.
Yes.
Like I will. Now I will say you do tend to jump in like front and center.
Mm-hmm.
Very quickly before, like in moments in which it's like, I got this. I didn't necessarily, like, we're on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to more nicely say, oh, no, that's not what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Try again.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't, I'll find someone who will.
Right.
Because I'm not a drug-seeking patient. I'm not here for your opioids. I don't need opioids. I don't want opioids. Quite frankly, opioids fuck me the fuck up. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I know this. I don't want any part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would have to be in the amount of tremendous pain that I was in before I had neck surgery the first time, not the second time, the first time, in order to be like, yeah, okay, give me the good shit.
Right. Well, again, and then when we came to the next surgery, I kept my mouth shut. I did not like Dr. Engel Leach.
Yeah, that's what he's become called. And moreover, like, it was the kind of situation that fundamentally, while I regret the choice that I made,
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I think there's got to be an understanding one comes to on why I made the choice that I made.
I know. I'm not
Like,
blaming you for the choice. I'm
well,
blaming him for
no,
his bad
no,
skills.
no. But there's more to it than that. Like, I wasn't loving the doctor. I, like, from the word go, I was not loving this doctor. Was not loving their doctor's office. Was not loving his bedside manner. Was not feeling all that confident in his skill and abilities. I
Right.
thought he was good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think he's going to paralyze me. I don't think he, like, I was at that point, is
Mm-hmm.
like, get me in and out of here as quick as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that being, I had a lot of shit going on at that time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we had just moved me up here. I'm trying to get these things done in my life. We've got my grandmother's house to sell. We've got, like, all this shit
Mm-hmm.
going on. And it's like, I just need to get in and out on this fucking neck surgery and be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
I've already, and again, it was a little overconfidence on my part of what I thought I could handle.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think, yes, I made a mistake, but, like, this is the reason for it, is I was really confident in the way my first surgery turned out.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, yeah, this isn't going to go as great as.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere could I have imagined it was going to go as badly as it did.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, okay, this is not going to be the rock star surgery I had the first time. This is not going to be the rock star staff I had the first time. This
Mm-hmm.
is not going to be quite the same. Like, I had surgery, I was instantly pain free. A week after surgery, I'm back to driving a car and doing every damn thing I needed to do on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was my first time experience. They're telling me you're going to be like a month, 6 weeks, maybe 2 months or 3. Fucking 1 week after surgery, I wasn't lifting anything heavy, but they were still telling me, like, you're not supposed to be driving yet, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm fine. I don't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm being careful with, like, the post-surgical pain meds, because you always get those. Like,
Not
I'm
always.
resting when at that time you did.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm resting when I need to rest. Like, I'm not pushing myself any harder than what I think I can do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using the feedback my body's giving me to go, okay, that was a little overzealous.
Mm-hmm.
Back it down a notch,
Mm-hmm.
and rock with it. And I did that, and it was fine.
Right.
It really was, until
Mm-hmm.
we get into that 2-week hospice care experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I got some really early bad advice on how to roll a patient, i.e., how to lift and roll my grandmother. Pretty sure that's when the second neck surgery became necessary.
Well, that, and then, his practice and his experimental bullshit just. I'm so glad you got the second opinion. And if you have another neck problem, we're going to Florida. I hate Florida. We're going to Florida.
Well, we're either going to Florida or we are tracking down my first neck surgeon. Because, again, that was a rock star. Okay, the surgeon was amazing. I did not see that man till the day I set foot, already drugged, into the operating room.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him for like a split second that I remember before my surgery started. And then I saw him after surgery for like 5 minutes, and he just was like the most empathetic human being at that moment of like, oh my God, how did you function?
Mm-hmm.
How were you not spending every minute of your life screaming?
Mm-hmm.
Because you had an entire nerve bundle compressed in what looked like not just like a straight line serrated edge knife, but like if you took that and like
Tunneled.
made a whole tunnel of serrated edges. That's what that nerve bundle was trapped in. And what had happened is everything had been all copacetic. And then when I ruptured the disc, it put just a little extra pressure and irritation on that nerve bundle and
Mm-hmm.
caused it to swell. And
Mm-hmm.
then everything pushed into serrated edges.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, nothing was copacetic. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, but he went through and he was like, how were you rating your pain a 9?
Right.
He said, I would have assumed to see that as a 10. Like, it doesn't get worse than what you had to have been going through.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and maybe it was the drugs, but I seriously come to think of it this way.
Mm-hmm.
It had to remain a 9.
Mm-hmm.
At a 9, there's worse. And at a 9, it can get better.
Mm-hmm.
At a 10, I have to grant myself permission, like any human would, to do whatever the fuck I can
Mm-hmm.
to get out of pain. And I would have gone to a street corner and bought drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I will freely admit that. If I had let myself admit that pain was a 10,
Mm-hmm.
I would have been doing heroin.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been snorting pills. I would have done anything that anyone said would get me out of the pain I was in.
Mm-hmm. So what's your verdict on this wife?
Oh, I'm not a Karen. I don't. I see their relationship problem. I see her issue, or more importantly, the issue that they're having.
Right.
Is that he is more willing to whatever the doctor says is whatever the doctor says, and it is right, true, correct, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm taking.
Right.
She is a little more of the mindset that, like, I think she's a little more of the mindset of, like, people make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I just need you to listen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as any doctor should.
Right.
Please listen. Please listen.
Right.
Even if your patient is sitting there like, it's fine, it's fine.
Right.
It's fine. Like, you know, she made me come in.
Right.
Okay, at least take a moment to look. Take a moment to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Take a moment
Right.
to really take in the situation.
Right.
Like 15 minutes to kick off a shoe, roll down a sock, and see what the hell's going on.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That the worst thing you're going to do in that situation as a doctor is see a perfectly normal, maybe a little bruised because it's sprained,
Mm-hmm.
slightly swollen, and fine, the wife's overreacted.
Right.
You know, but the husband got medical attention adequate for the condition he presented with.
Right.
If you think it's a sprain based on what he's saying, that's still adequate and appropriate care for the condition he presented with. And I think the husband is a little overreactive to getting people fired.
Right.
Like, as in, no, dude, I don't worry about what I say getting someone fired, because here's how that works.
Right.
You don't get fired because someone doesn't like you.
Right.
You don't get fired because you did your job.
Right.
You don't get fired because someone complained.
Right.
You get fired because that was a valid complaint.
Right.
It exceeded the bounds of what your duty in that job position was. Mm-hmm. You get fired because you did something you weren't supposed to do, or you didn't do something you were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
You get fired because you're lazy, because you wanted an easy 5-minute consult in and out the door. You just weren't feeling
Right.
like hearing one more bitchy person.
Right.
Because I'm sorry, everything I read in this sounds like a doctor that is having a personal life problem.
Right.
And is taking it out on patients.
Right.
And I think she's absolutely right. The behavior he's showing
Right.
is going to end up being very detrimental to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, point blank.
Yep. So, not the asshole or the asshole?
Oh, not the asshole.
Agreed. Not the asshole deserves a good dinner, at least.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think any of the things she did were all that over the top. I think maybe she needs a little check on her anger.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it was unwarranted.
Right. All right. So go ahead and read the comments we've gotten in.
All right. Well, let's start with the edit. Thank you all for the comments and awards. I didn't expect this to go as mental as it did. I've shown hubby the post, and he's starting to realize how serious it could have been, and is going to email the admin guy we saw this afternoon. He gave us his contact details for my complaint. He's also agreed that delaying treatment the way he did was incredibly stupid, and has decided to chase up the counseling referral with the GP so he will be less useless in future medical situations.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, we were eventually given appropriate treatment, and hopefully the follow-up will be positive. I'll stick an update on here if there's anything interesting to report. Once again, thanks for setting my mind at ease in your opinions. So, all right. With 16.4 thousand upvotes, not the asshole. You were right to be insistent. The doctor was not doing his job. You did what you had to do. I'm going to add that your husband is a huge asshole here too. Not taking care of your health and making yourself a burden on your spouse is downright selfish. He needs a stern talking to. At very least, you need to stop enabling him. In the future, stop dealing with these instances. If he dares complain, call him out on the need to take care of himself and not be a burden on you. And I don't think the intent, I will add this, I don't think the husband's intent is to be a burden on the spouse as much as he grew up, as many men do. You don't go to the doctor, you don't hurt, suck it up, boys don't cry, that doesn't hurt, walk it off. Like, we hear this shit like from the minute we're like able to remember words.
Right.
Suck it off, stop crying, quit being a pussy, blah blah blah, over and over and over. This, I know so much sympathy there is not for men. But I have to point this out, that when you hear this shit over and over and over, what you take away from it is you don't need medical care. You're the problem. You're the burden. You're the one that is wasting someone else's time with this. You're the one that needs to suck it up. You're the one.
Right.
In every situation, like, you know, if your finances are fucked up, it's because of you. You're the problem. You fucked up. You're horrible. You didn't do this. That's what this does. If you have a medical problem, you don't have a medical problem. You have a you problem. You just can't tolerate this. You're being stupid. You're not, you know, in that much pain. It doesn't hurt that bad. You just need to walk it off and quit being such a, on and on and on. Every aspect of life if it's not good, perfect, or as it should be, that's what this messaging does to us, is tell us it's your fault. You're overreacting. You're a problem. You're being a problem. You're creating a problem for someone else. And then when this shitty ass care steps in, it's really easy to get stuck in that, like, because effectively what this doctor said without saying it was suck it up. It's just a sprain. Go home and get over it, you drug-seeking asshole.
Right.
You know, quit being a wimp. Suck it up. That's what I heard in that. And I can understand how for most men, even, not a lot of men, not some men, not a few men, when you're caught with that kind of attitude, it's really easy to hear that tape running in your head of suck it up, deal with it, man up, be a man, walk it off, over and over and over, and be like, okay, I fucked up. I shouldn't have come in. I'm wasting everyone's time. Like, and that is a challenge when you're dealing with someone that is presenting that kind of attitude towards you. Someone who starts your interaction with the assumption that you're wasting their time.
Right.
And flat out says, you know, oh, it's just a sprain. Don't worry about it. Here's, you know, take some Tylenol. Walk it off.
And flex your toes.
Flex your toes. It'll be great.
My opinion is, no, not the asshole. I think the doctor should be reinstituted. Luckily, this is a UK poster, so there is regulations and there's complaints going to be filed, which is wonderful.
It is.
Yes.
Well, and I'm hoping the doctor gets the help they receive. Because that's what I'm reading. That's like, seriously, that's what I'm reading in this. This is like the medical professional equivalent of a cry for help.
Right. Well, you know, this is, you know, my opinion on doctors, and has always been my opinion on doctors. The first year of medical school, they need to be infected with something that has no name, that they can't define their symptoms to, that doesn't match anything.
And then left to deal with the medical system as it is, in the state that it is, to be told you're crazy, that you don't know. Well, so to speak, the Dorothy Spornak take on fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
Is if every doctor could get really sick, they would fucking understand and be more sympathetic.
Right.
And listen.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I'm there.
Yeah. And that's been done ever since, you know, I started having problems. And, you know, it took a long form. You know, I had a doctor look at me and go, we don't know what's wrong with you. We've done every test imaginable and can't find it. So it must be mental.
Yeah, see, that's the worst. Well, I won't even call that the worst cop-out. I still think the worst cop-out is diagnosis fat.
Right.
Because that one is like, it's the immediate go-to for so many doctors. Like, you don't even get to the point that you get tested for everything and told you're just crazy. You just get told you're fat and to wait until you can come back not fat, and then we'll see what the problem is.
Right. Well, he didn't have that option at the time. Right. But at the same time of that, at that point, he was wrong. They hadn't done long-form testing.
Okay. So he's saying we've done everything we can do, and he's wrong. At the, like, very beginning, we've not done everything we can do.
Yeah.
You're just crazy. That makes it a little more jockeying between which one's worse, in my opinion only. Like, because I just sit there with that, you know, the number. Like, here's the thing though. When you tell patients they're crazy, you do stress them, and you do make them very mad. But typically, that will either throw them into another form of medical care, in which eventually you're going to get a different type of doctor that's going to listen to them and like veer them off towards the doctor they need to see, or otherwise empower them to go get the health care they deserve. And it's like, you're not crazy. What you're saying is a purely logical, reasonable thing. Versus when you just tell someone they're fat, like, do you realize how many fucking diseases list a morbidity factor of obesity? And I'm sitting here going, that's convenient. It's really fucking convenient that when people tell you they have X symptom, Y symptom, Z symptom, and the whole fucking alphabet 20,000 times over, every fucking symptom. Oh, it's because you're fat. I'm tired. Well, it's because you're fat. I've had sudden weight gain. Well, it's because you're fat and you have poor eating habits. This hurts, that hurts, this other problem exists. Fuzzy brain, whatever. Whatever you can say when you appear in that doctor's office fat, you're immediately told the problem is because you're fat. And your only recourse that you're given is to quit being fat. And if you still have a problem, come back.
Right.
Which, we're not talking like kicking the can down the road a couple of weeks or months or maybe even a couple of years. You're talking about decades. For some people to lose the amount of weight that their doctors would like to see them lose before they will treat them as a patient instead of referring the cow to a veterinarian. Because that's how these doctors act, is that you're in the wrong fucking office. There's a veterinarian next door.
Right.
Let them put you on the fucking, cow table and deal with you.
Right.
Because that's how I've been treated. That's how I've been talked to. That's how it has been. And when you get that messaging, I have to say, after a while, you just stop. Because, yeah, you hurt, and yeah, you're tired, and yeah, you're this, and yeah, you're that. But is it as bad as sitting in that goddamn doctor's office watching some condescending prick tell you, oh, it's because you're fat? Is it worth a $35 copay to tell me what I see in a mirror? No fucking shit. Price of tea in China, dumbass.
Right.
Like,
I know.
That's the insidiousness of that one to me.
Right.
Is that you have no recourse.
No.
You're supposed to go to a gym and like birth a cow of like body fat and then come back looking like, someone the doctor wants to fuck before you can get medical care.
Yeah, that's why we love Super Doc. He never done that.
Yeah, we love him for that. Like, he's been awesome. He listens, he takes care of stuff.
Yep.
Like, it's been amazing. It is a totally different experience of healthcare, and it's taken a long time to get there. And I've gone through a shit ton of doctors that I didn't quit seeing because I got better. I quit seeing because I got tired of.
Right.
I quit seeing because I don't want to hear it anymore.
Right.
I don't want to waste another $35 goddamn dollars. I don't want, every time I have a problem or a symptom, I can't just go in and say, hey, look, doc, this is what's going on. This is what's happened. This is what's gone on in my life. What questions do you have for me? Okay, let's figure this out. I don't want to go in 3, 4, 14, 50 times before either A, it kicks in on his doctor brain or their doctor brain, his, hers, or whatever, doctor brain that, oh, well, maybe it's this, Or for them to be like, let me shut the cow up and, like, you know, go get a blood test for this.
Mm-hmm.
Or to literally end up, because, like, the situation with the headaches,
Mm-hmm.
I was in so much goddamn pain with those headaches. I was taking Tylenol, Advil, like, it was over the counter and readily available.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking it at levels I actually almost tanked my liver. Like, I was borderlining shutting my liver down because I was in so much goddamn pain. And if I took like 4
Mm-hmm.
Advil every 2 hours, it dulled it
Mm-hmm.
just enough that I could function.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, every couple of hours, I'm taking 4 fucking Advil
Mm-hmm.
or Tylenol or whatever the fuck else. Like, something, anything, just to dull it, just bring it down from an 11 to a 10. Just get me there. Just get me there. Because I was at a point I could, like, the pain was so intense.
Right.
Like, it was borderline a migraine.
Right.
And just that moment of the only thing that got me tested for something else was the fear and concern that I was going to be dead by the next,
Right.
like, if he said a follow-up, I was going to be dead before it because I was going to tank my liver.
Right.
Then he calls me back in for a third appointment
Uh-huh.
and listens.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why are we playing this game?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Tell me why. Explain it to me. Why the fuck does a fat person go to a doctor to be told they're fat? Why do you think, as a medical professional, would you sit there and think, how in getting your fucking degree did you get this idea in your head
Mm-hmm.
that fat people are so goddamn stupid that they have to come to a doctor's office
Mm-hmm.
and be diagnosed as fat before they go fucking A? Oh my God, is that the problem? Like, really? That's you literally think my competence level is that low that I could not
Mm-hmm.
have figured out somewhere before now
Mm-hmm.
that I was overweight.
Mm-hmm.
Moreover, how do you interpret the fact that there are so many fucking diseases with a comorbidity of obesity? How do you assume that the obesity is always the cause?
All right.
I have a firm conviction, and maybe I'm crazy, and I'll say this right now, it's not medical advice. I'm just going, I'll accept I'm crazy. But doesn't it seem more likely that when you keep diagnosing fat people as fat and you quit paying attention to their symptoms, problems, complaints, and issues, that maybe you're killing them because you're not fucking listening?
Right.
Is more likely than, like, obesity causes pain, and obesity does this, and obesity does that, and
Right.
obesity does these 4 million other goddamn things.
Right.
Or maybe because you didn't fucking listen to someone, they died because they're fat.
Mm-hmm.
Not because of the fat,
Mm-hmm.
but because you can't see them as anything other than livestock that needs to go to a vet and be put down.
Right. So
Because
let's read the viewer story here.
Okay. Oh, I got a good one. I had bad pain in my abdomen after having my first kid. Doctors wouldn't examine me, just kept telling me it was my abdominal muscles coming back together. 1 year later, I end up in the ER after looking up my symptoms online and told the nurse I thought my gallbladder was bad. She told me not to Google my symptoms. I'm not a doctor. And I was like, I can fucking read. And told her all my symptoms and that I just had a kid a year ago and that the hormone imbalances can decimate a gallbladder. She refused to listen. The doctor agreed to do a blood test. Guess what? My pancreas was about to explode from gallstones. Dickheads.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. You thought you were having a heart attack.
I did. I seriously did. And here's the thing. I had seen my doctor. I had told him the shit I was going through because this was not an overnight thing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think I got diagnosed as fat in that situation. He just pawned me off when I kept saying, you know, I keep having this really god awful, like, indigestion and, like, God, everything I eat causes me a problem.
Yep.
And he says, here's Protonics. It was new to the market. Sure, we got a lovely kickback for that. Here's Protonics. And I did that. And, like, my symptoms diminished.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on and on. And then I literally had planned to go to my doctor, like, schedule a visit, and be like, look, is there a higher dosage of this? Because I had gotten back to that point that, like, every time I eat, I wake up in the middle of the night with this.
Right.
You know? And then that final morning, Saturday fucking morning, I woke up and it was damn near a scene out of, like, The Exorcist. Like, I sat up in bed.
Mm-hmm.
And the yellow started.
Right.
And I ran to the bathroom and I have this horrible chest pain. Like everything you've ever heard about having a heart attack. Did it feel like an elephant was sitting on my chest? Yes. Did it feel like, you know, I couldn't catch my breath and breathe? Yes.
Right.
Did I have numbness and tingling down my arm? Yes. Everything in the world said you're having a fucking heart attack.
Right.
You are like, and like, I'm sitting there realizing I have to call 911. I'm having a heart attack. I'm like 26 years old.
Right.
I'm like, and I'm trying to calm myself down because I know it does not get better if I stress myself out. I could make it worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having to come to terms with, okay, I'm 20 some years old. I'm having a heart attack. It'll be fine. You know, I'll go in. We'll take care of whatever we need to. You know, maybe this is a good thing. You know, like I'll you know, and just everything I can do to calm myself down while I'm waiting on an ambulance to get there.
Right.
And the state of our healthcare system is so goddamn bad that this man just has me sit there while I think I'm having a heart attack and hooks me up to an EKG machine to tell me you are not having a heart attack. And if I put you in the back of this ambulance, it's going to cost you $1,000. Are you sure you don't want to call a friend?
Right.
Because I was having so much pain, I was scared to drive.
Right.
Like, it hurt to move. Everything hurt.
Exactly.
That's how fucked up our healthcare is. I couldn't just take a goddamn ambulance.
Right.
Down the street in Chapel Hill to UNCH hospitals or UNC hospitals and go to the ER. I had to have someone my friend drive back. They had a whole day trip plan. They dropped everything, drove back to take me to the hospital. I had emergency surgery on a Sunday morning. That's how bad my gallbladder situation was.
Mm-hmm.
And when I called into work on Monday, I got asked how long I thought I needed and if I could be back in by the next Monday. Not, I hope you feel better. Not any of the things you would expect. I learned so much in that moment. Like, that whole experience, so many things became so fucking glaringly obvious that I'd never really thought about. Mm-hmm. One, we don't know how to tell people what the fuck a heart attack feels like. We do, however, know exactly how to tell people what a gallbladder getting ready to explode feels like.
Mm-hmm.
We have a healthcare system that makes you think twice that even if they legitimately think the reason you've called is what's occurring, they would rather waste time hooking you up to an EKG to save you the $1,000. How fucked up is that?
Yeah.
We have an employment universal experience that doesn't give a shit. All they're doing is figuring out how soon will you be back, and is that soon enough that I can justify hiring another person or firing you?
All right.
That's it. Like, slammed into me. And that a doctor would rather have kept writing me a prescription for protonics than actually question if maybe what I had was a gallbladder issue, if maybe what I had going on was something else.
Right.
It was easier to take the symptoms I presented with and just keep throwing protonics at me than to actually care if it was working. Yeah. Not that I really had time to go to the doctor anyway, because we have an employment system that says, here's fucking insurance.
Don't use it.
Fucking luck taking time off to go get medical care.
Right.
All these, like, I
know.
Things I hadn't really stopped to think about until that moment. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with our world? And then like, I basically unraveled after that. But yeah. Anywho.
Right.
So other comments. Not the asshole. If the doctor gets sacked, it is because he failed to do his job in examining the patient.
If my appendix ruptured, my husband called my boss to tell her I was going into surgery, and she was like, will she be in tomorrow? He said, lady, I don't even know if she's still alive. Yeah.
Like, that's...
Yeah.
How do you like, and I know not every manager's like this. I will say, I have had phenomenal managers. I really have. But where is it in becoming a manager that some people just have, like, their brain, their soul, and every ounce of humanity sucked straight out of their body, every last goddamn ounce?
Right.
That being a decent human being is a challenge.
You set up the voicemail.
Oh, great.
You know, as you input that pin to the voicemail, it sucks it out through the phone line.
It's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Gollum.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I've always wanted to know how, like, I don't think managers have always started out like this.
No.
And other managers seem to be able to, like, live, laugh, love. Like, they remain human. But some people, it's just like they get the title and all of a sudden any ounce of, like, humanity. And I get there are employees in the world that suck and abuse everything, and their grandma dies 15 goddamn times. And they have an excuse for everything, and you have heard bullshit, and you're gonna hear bullshit, and you know it's bullshit. I get that part. But at what point do you go from, I think I'm hearing bullshit, to, I just don't care?
It happens when you set up the voicemail. Promise you. As soon as you go 1155 or whatever your passcode is, when you hit that pound button, it is automatically sucked out of you and stored into the phone.
Well, it's not stored. It's apparently deleted, because I've seen these people. They never get it back.
They do the day they're fired. And someone else changes the passcode. It's a cursed phone.
Oh, okay. It's cursed. It's the phone system. Got it. Like, let's get AT&T on this problem and see if we can fix it.
Well, they need to get AT&T on that problem, but there's other problems they need to get fixed first. But that's for another night.
But yeah, so no, they're like all the comments are pretty much there.
Yeah.
Like, I will say though, like I do think men especially, we need help
Yes.
with how to navigate medical care.
Mm-hmm.
We really need help with this
Mm-hmm.
and understanding
Mm-hmm.
of like if you're a provider and you're watching this and you're seeing a male patient, I know the spouse isn't always your friend.
No, I'm
Please
personally.
realize, no, pause.
Okay.
Please realize that the anger and the frustration that they may be venting isn't immediately because of you. It's because they're having to deal with this human being who doesn't value themselves enough to get the help they need. And they're like just trying.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you're ready, willing, and able to take this patient who doesn't value themselves enough to get the care they need, you're ready to take them at their word that they're fine. That is unfortunately where it turns from frustration and aggravation with their spouse, and that's where it turns on you. Is like you're enabling this shit. That's why they are so angry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, please try to understand that. Is like it's not just like it starts at home. It starts with the spouse and the frustration towards them for like you don't value yourself enough to get medical care. But when you get into that doctor's office and that medical provider is enabling this shit, that's why you're getting slammed in the head with what someone would call a WebMD doctor, Karen, what the fuck, who's it, WebMD. If you're a provider and that's what you think you're dealing with, please understand that's not what you're dealing with. You're dealing with someone who's already frustrated with a spouse who doesn't think that they deserve medical treatment and care, that they're not worth it, that their symptoms aren't enough, that their pain isn't enough, that they just need to walk it off, suck it up, and deal.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that's what I wanted to get out.
I know.
Your turn.
I'm good.
Okay. Because I know it's frustrating, and I get that, and I do. But I know it's frustrating when you turn right around and the doctor's just like, okay, let's go with that. Let's go with I collect $120 and did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And made my tea time for golf.
All right.
Like, yeah, that's where that anger comes in. Like, I don't think every person who blows up on a medical provider is a Karen. I think some of them have just had it.
Well, and some
And
of them,
I've been there. Sorry.
some of them don't listen. Some of them don't listen to what the patient wants, cares about, needs, feels. And it's good to have an advocate. It's good to have an advocate that's been apparently photoed and their face pops up on the computer when the phone rings in.
Yeah, you're red warning, I'm pretty sure. Like, I think a light turns on. And it's like, gird your loins. Oh, Jesus, we got a live one.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, we make fun of that. We do.
Yeah, there's a very large and becoming a larger hospital system in the state of West Virginia. I believe everyone's scared of me there. Because they know I will go to the president of the hospital, walk right into her office and go, look here, bitch.
Yeah. And granted, I don't think every situation needs that. I just need providers like SuperDoc.
Mm-hmm.
I need humans
Mm-hmm.
with medical degrees and training and some experience
Mm-hmm.
and functional hearing.
And listening.
Yeah, functional hearing, actual listening skills and ability.
Mm-hmm.
Who are not so tired, stressed, personally damaged, what the fuck ever,
Mm-hmm.
that they just can't even
Mm-hmm.
with me today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a pretty baby.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give them a hard on. That shouldn't be a prerequisite to get decent medical care anywhere, at any time, for any reason.
Right.
But that's also where our medical system exists at.
Right. All right. Well, we've reached that 2.5 hour mark.
Oh, goodness. It was a long one.
Yes. So we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Yes, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, and Dottie the Psychic. There are baristas. They support us. They take care of, helping some of the back house stuff. They even bring us stories sometimes. If you'd like to support the show, please visit pcspnetwork.com.
There we go. How was that? Do you like that one?
I can do it.
I know you can do it. You just normally don't.
I do it on coffee, on tea and coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's up for that? So we're back on Tuesday. Or no, you've got double authors.
I believe I have double authors again.
Okay, so you guys won't see me if he's got double authors. I almost never make it in on a double author show because that 45 and 45 and I think everyone's done.
Right.
Normally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you're back on Thursday with coffee and tea, and that's with
Dottie.
Awesome. Yep. What you guys talking about, or do you know?
Who knows? We don't script that one. That is me and the other psychic having coffee. We will talk shit. We will throw shade. We'll give you the insider information to the industry. And then, we might talk about neurodivergency, business practices that are bullshit, networks that need to be sold. Tell
her I said it's fine.
Uh-huh.
It's fine.
I will.
It's fine.
I will.
If y'all didn't catch her show yesterday, you should. It was funny.
Yep. And then Joe definitely will be back with us with Mountain Bears.
Yes.
Yes.
So we'll see you next Friday for sure.
Yes. All right, guys. You have a magical evening, a great weekend, and we'll be back Tuesday. Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Maybe.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Hold. I'm cleaning this file box later.
Stacked. You can whisper behind my back. You can show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. Oh, now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop me now.